Sienna Blake stands quietly in the far corner of the gallery, her posture composed but her eyes alert. The polished floors catch every movement, every flash of jewelry, every confident stride, except hers. She watches as guests drift from painting to painting, their conversations easy, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings. No one questions their presence, no one glances twice at their comfort. A staff member adjusting a sculpture looks right past Sienna as if she's part of the wall. The exclusion is subtle, but it stings all the same. A waiter weaves through the crowd, offering drinks and hors d'oeuvres. He pauses near Sienna, hesitates, then turns away, tray still full. She notices, but does not react. Her restraint is practiced, the result of years spent in spaces where her presence is acknowledged only when convenient. Across the room, a curator gestures animatedly to a group of patrons, never once inviting Sienna into the circle. The message is clear. Her art is welcome, but her person is not. A young visitor approaches, voice tentative. "Are you the artist?" Sienna nods, offering a gentle smile. The visitor's curiosity is genuine, but before the conversation can deepen, a gallery associate steps in, steering the guest away with a polite but firm hand. Sienna's smile fades, replaced by a quiet resolve. She's seen this before, admiration for her work, but discomfort with her presence. The evening continues, the room alive with chatter and clinking glasses. Sienna stands her ground, her gaze unwavering. She is both observer and observed, her dignity intact even as the space tries to render her invisible. The gallery's lights may shine on her art, but the shadows in the room reveal the deeper truth. Belonging here is conditional, and she feels every condition pressing in. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Caroline Prescott stands in front of Sienna's painting, her gaze fixed on the price tag. She scans the room, her expression unreadable, then quietly peels off the original tag and replaces it with a lower one she's pulled from her purse. The gesture is swift, almost routine, as if she's done this before in other galleries, other spaces. Her actions go unnoticed by most, but a gallery attendant catches the movement from across the room. He hesitates, glancing at his colleague for direction, but neither makes a move. Their uncertainty lingers in the air, thickening the atmosphere with a quiet discomfort. Caroline's friend leans in, voice low. "You can always talk them down. They expect it." Caroline lets out a soft laugh, her tone dismissive. "They always ask too much. Who's going to pay that for something like this?" Her words are casual, but the impact is sharp, slicing through the quiet dignity Sienna tries to maintain. The staff's indecision grows, their eyes darting between the altered tag and the artist herself, unsure if or how to intervene. Sienna stands at a distance, her jaw set, her eyes never leaving Caroline. She feels the familiar sting of having her value rewritten by someone who believes they have the right. The gallery's polished surfaces reflect the moment back at everyone, making the injustice impossible to ignore. No confrontation erupts, no voices are raised, but the damage is done. The act is small, yet it crystallizes the everyday reality for Black artists, having their worth questioned, their work diminished, their dignity challenged by those who assume authority. As Caroline steps back, satisfied with her handiwork, the room seems to hold its breath. Sienna remains steady, her silence now a shield, her resolve hardening as she prepares for what comes next. A hush settles over the gallery, broken only by the soft shuffle of shoes on polished wood. The staff gather near the reception desk, their eyes flicking between Caroline and the altered price tag. One attendant fidgets with a stack of brochures, his knuckles white, while another pretends to rearrange a vase, her gaze darting back to Sienna. The air is thick with unspoken questions. Should we say something? What if it causes trouble? Caroline, stands with her arms folded, her friend whispering encouragement. "It's just business," she insists, her words meant for the staff as much as herself. The manager, sensing the tension, glances at Sienna but quickly looks away, unwilling to challenge a regular patron. The staff's hesitation is palpable, each second stretching the discomfort further. No one wants to be the first to act, to risk confrontation or embarrassment. Sienna watches the silent exchange, her expression unreadable. She feels the burden of the moment, how the responsibility to respond, to defend her own value, always seems to land on her shoulders. The staff's inaction is as clear as any insult, their avoidance, a quiet betrayal. She stands taller, refusing to shrink under the weight of their uncertainty. A young intern, new to the gallery, bites her lip and glances at the manager. "Shouldn't we fix it?" she whispers, voice trembling. The manager shakes his head, murmuring, "It's not worth the scene." The intern's shoulders slump, her sense of rightness stifled by the unspoken rules of the room. The moment lingers, heavy and unresolved. The staff return to their routines, but the energy has shifted. Sienna's presence is a silent challenge to the system that prefers avoidance over justice. The gallery, for all its beauty, reveals the cracks in its foundation, cracks that grow, wider with every act of inaction. Caroline stands near Sienna's painting, her laughter sharp and sudden, cutting through the gallery's quiet. "Who's going to pay that for this?" she says, waving a manicured hand at the canvas. Her friend snickers, glancing around for approval. The words are tossed out lightly, but their impact lands heavy, a cold slap in the warm air. A nearby couple exchange uneasy glances, one of them shifting their weight, uncomfortable but silent. The gallery manager stiffens, his lips pressed into a thin line, but he says nothing. A staff member clears her throat, arranging pamphlets with more force than needed, her frustration visible in the tightness of her jaw. The young intern from earlier looks down, cheeks flushed, wishing she could disappear. Sienna hears every syllable, her face unreadable as she absorbs the insult. She doesn't respond. Her refusal to engage speaks louder than any retort. Instead, she straightens her shoulders, her calm presence a quiet rebuke to Caroline's arrogance. The tension in the room thickens, not from confrontation, but from the collective discomfort that follows Caroline's careless words. Caroline's friend leans in, whispering, "You know how it is." They always think their stuff is worth more. The comment hangs between them, a private joke made public by the way their eyes flick to Sienna and away again. The laughter fades, replaced by an awkward hush as the reality of what's been said settles over the group. The gallery's walls, lined with art meant to provoke thought and emotion, now echo with the sting of dismissal. Sienna remains steady, her silence a shield against the casual cruelty. The room feels smaller, the air heavier, as everyone present is forced to reckon with the power of words left unchallenged. Sienna steps forward, her movement deliberate, drawing the eyes of everyone. In the gallery, the crowd's chatter falters, replaced by a quiet tension. She stops just a few feet from Caroline, her posture upright, gaze unwavering. The air feels charged, as if the room itself is holding its breath. Caroline's confidence flickers. She forces a smile, but her voice is thinner now. "Is there a problem?" she asks, trying to sound unbothered. Her friend shifts, suddenly interested in a nearby sculpture, distancing herself from the unfolding moment. Sienna's response is calm, her words measured. "Are you sure you know what you're looking at?" The question is simple, but it lands with weight. Caroline blinks, caught off guard. She glances at the altered price tag, then back at Sienna, searching for support in the faces around her. No one steps in. A staff member sets down a stack of brochures, hands trembling just slightly. The manager watches from the doorway, uncertain whether to intervene or let the moment play out. The young intern, emboldened by Sienna's composure, edges closer, her eyes wide with anticipation. Caroline tries to recover, her tone defensive. "I just thought it was a mistake. You know, sometimes things get mislabeled." Her words sound hollow, the authority in her voice slipping away. The gallery feels different now, less like her domain, more like neutral ground. Sienna doesn't raise her voice, doesn't plead her case. She lets the question linger, lets the discomfort settle. The power in the room shifts, subtle but unmistakable. For the first time, Caroline seems unsure, her certainty replaced by a creeping self-doubt. As the moment stretches, the gallery's atmosphere changes. The confrontation is not loud, but it is seismic. Dignity stands its ground, and arrogance begins to falter. The storm has not broken, but everyone can sense it coming. Sienna sits at the kitchen table, sunlight spilling across the faded linoleum. Her mother's steady hands guide hers over a sketch pad, tracing the outline of a bold figure. "Never let them see you break," her mother says quietly, her voice carrying the weight of lessons learned the hard way. Sienna looks up, searching her mother's face for reassurance, finding only quiet strength and a hint of worry. A distant radio hums, the world outside moving on, but inside, time slows. Sienna's mother leans closer, her words soft but unyielding. "They'll try to tell you what you're worth. Don't believe them. You decide." Sienna nods, her grip on the pencil tightening as she draws. The moment is small, but it settles deep, an anchor for storms she doesn't yet know are coming. Years later, the memory surfaces at her first gallery show. Sienna stands beneath bright lights, her paintings vibrant against stark white walls. The crowd mills about, voices low, glancing at labels that read urban, folk, never just art. A white curator approaches, offering a practiced smile. "We'll find the right audience for you," he says, his tone gentle but distancing. Sienna forces a polite nod, her jaw set. She feels the sting of being boxed in, her work admired but never fully accepted. Around her, guests murmur, some curious, others skeptical. The praise is careful, the questions about her background more pointed than those about her technique. As the evening wears on, Sienna remembers her mother's words. She stands a little taller, refusing to shrink under the weight of expectation. The lesson from that kitchen table holds, her value is not theirs to define. Her art and her dignity will not be broken. Sienna stands beneath the bright gallery. Lights, her paintings vibrant against the stark white walls. The crowd moves around her, voices low, their eyes flickering between curiosity and skepticism. Labels hang beside her work. Urban, folk, never simply art. The words shrink her creations before they can breathe. A white curator approaches, his smile practiced but distant. "We'll find the right audience for you," he says softly, his tone polite but distancing. Sienna nods, jaw set, swallowing the sting of being boxed in. Around her, guests murmur, some intrigued, others doubtful. The praise is careful, the questions about her background sharper than those about her technique. Sienna's lips press into a thin line, her calm a shield against the subtle dismissal. She watches as her art is admired, but never fully accepted, the invisible lines drawn around her work as clear as any barrier. As the evening wears on, Sienna recalls her mother's words from years ago. "Never let them see you break." The back memory anchors her, a quiet defiance fueling her steady gaze toward the future. She stands a little taller, refusing to shrink under the weight of expectation. The gallery buzzes with polite conversation, but beneath the surface, the unspoken message lingers. Her value is questioned, her place uncertain. Yet, Sienna's art speaks louder than the labels, a testament to resilience and the power of quiet strength. The gallery's staff room is cramped, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and paper. Desks are cluttered with stacks of documents, monitors flicker with unread messages. A junior intern scrolls through her inbox, pausing on yet another email from a black artist. "My piece was moved to storage. No explanation." She bites her lip, uncertain, glancing at the manager for direction. The manager sits at the far end, rubbing his forehead, fatigue etched into his features. "It's the usual," he mutters, eyes fixed on a spreadsheet. "We just follow what's been set. No need to stir things up." His words are meant to reassure, but they only deepen the unease in the room. An assistant stands by the shredder, holding a printed complaint. She hesitates, then feeds it into the machine, watching the paper disappear in thin strips. A staff member leans toward a colleague, voice barely above a whisper. "How many more of these before someone actually does something?" The colleague looks away, shuffling a stack of exhibition flyers. "It's not our place," he says quietly, avoiding her gaze. The tension is palpable, a quiet battle between conscience and self-preservation. The intern hovers over the keyboard, fingers trembling as she considers replying to the artist. She types a few words, then deletes them, the cursor blinking accusingly. She knows the right thing to do, but the weight of precedent and unspoken rules keeps her silent. Around her, the others return to their routines, the moment of doubt quickly buried beneath the day's tasks. As the room settles back into its rhythm, the unanswered emails remain, digital ghosts of voices unheeded. The staff's inaction isn't loud, but it's powerful, reinforcing the barriers that keep certain artists on the margins. In the quiet hum of the office, justice is quietly postponed, and the cycle continues. In the dim light of the gallery's security office, a lone guard sits hunched over a bank of monitors. The screens flicker with silent images, patrons drifting through exhibits, staff moving artwork, the subtle choreography of daily routine. He rewinds a feed, eyes narrowing as he watches Caroline linger by Sienna's painting, her movements deliberate as she swaps price tags. He scribbles a note in his logbook. July 12th, woman in blue jacket. Altered tags on pieces Narrager 7 and Narrager 9. The guard's routine is methodical. He reviews other nights, spotting patterns that others miss. A patron sneer as they pass a black artist's work, a staff member pausing before moving a painting to a less visible spot. Each incident is small, easy to overlook, but together they form a mosaic of quiet exclusion. He files away the footage, his folder growing thicker with each passing week. Occasionally, he brings his concerns to his supervisor. "I keep seeing the same things," he says, voice low. The supervisor glances at the logbook, then at the clock. "Just keep the tapes. If anything serious happens, we'll deal with it." The dismissal is practiced, the message clear. Don't make trouble. The guard returns to his monitors, frustration simmering beneath his calm exterior. He knows these images matter, that the small acts caught on camera are part of a larger story, yet his role is to observe, not intervene. He watches as Sienna enters the gallery, her presence steady, unaware of the quiet surveillance that records every slight. The office is silent except for the hum of the screens. The guard's logbook fills with dates, times, and brief descriptions, evidence waiting for someone to care. In the shadows of the gallery, patterns emerge, but for now they remain hidden, known only to those willing to look closely. Caroline Prescott moves through the gallery, her voice rising just enough to catch attention. She points at Sienna's painting, her tone sharp, laced with disbelief. "These prices are ridiculous. Who's really going to pay this much?" A few heads turn, some nodding, others frowning. Caroline's friend leans in, whispering encouragement. "See? They're just trying to rip us off." Caroline's words ripple through the crowd, stirring unease and agreement. A teenager in the back raises a phone, discreetly filming the scene. The camera captures Caroline's confident smile, the dismissive flick of her hand. The teen whispers to a friend, "This is what artists have to deal with." The phone keeps rolling, catching the subtle tension rising in the room. Sienna stands, still, her calm a stark contrast to the growing commotion. Her eyes meet Caroline's for a brief moment. Steady, unyielding. Around them, the gallery's polished surfaces reflect the unfolding drama, the quiet battle between entitlement and dignity. The crowd's energy shifts, some drawn in by Caroline's certainty, others unsettled by her tone. A gallery staff member watches from a distance, lips pressed tight, conflicted. She shifts uneasily, torn between duty and discomfort. "Should we step in?" she murmurs to a colleague. He shakes his head, voice low. "Not yet. Let it play out." The staff's hesitation adds to the tension, their inaction amplifying the weight of Caroline's words. The moment stretches, charged with unspoken power. Caroline's crusade rallies the unaware, weaponizing ignorance with every word. Yet, beneath the surface, the gallery's walls hold stories of resistance, waiting for their moment to rise. The crowd's murmurs swell, then fade into a tense, quiet as the scene lingers, unresolved. In the narrow hallway behind the gallery, the young intern clutches a USB drive, her palms slick with sweat. She glances over her shoulder, heart pounding, then spots Sienna standing alone near the emergency exit. The intern hesitates, torn between fear and conscience, before finally approaching with quick, uncertain steps. Her voice is barely above, a whisper. I have something you should see." She holds out the USB, her hand trembling. Sienna looks at her, searching for the meaning behind the gesture. The intern's eyes darted nervously toward the main room. "It's all there. Altered. Price logs, emails, complaints. I could get fired for this." Sienna takes the drive, her grip gentle but firm. "Why are you giving this to me?" she asks, her tone even. The intern swallows, glancing down. "Because it's wrong. What they're doing, what they're letting happen. It's not fair. I couldn't just watch anymore." Her words spill out in a rush, relief and anxiety mingling in her voice. A muffled voice calls from the front. The intern stiffens, stepping back. "Please. Just be careful." Sienna nods, her expression softening. "Thank you. I know what this costs you." The intern manages a shaky smile, then disappears into the crowd, her shoulders tense but lighter. Sienna turns the USB over in her hand, feeling the weight of what it contains. She slips it into her pocket, her resolve hardening. The hallway feels different now, charged with possibility and risk. The evidence is small, easily hidden, but it holds the power to shift everything. As Sienna moves back toward the gallery floor, the intern's act of courage lingers. In a place built on routine and silence, one person's choice to speak up becomes a quiet crack in the foundation, a promise that the truth will not stay buried. The teenager's hands shake slightly as she uploads the video, the caption simple, but piercing. "This is what artists go through." Within minutes, notifications begin to pour in. Likes, shares, comments from strangers who recognize the moment all too well. The gallery's polished calm is disrupted not by shouts, but by the quiet surge of digital attention. Sienna stands nearby, her face illuminated by the glow of a phone screen, her expression unreadable as she watches the numbers climb. Across the gallery, staff gather in uneasy clusters. One attendant scrolls through the video, her brow furrowed, as she reads the comments. "It's everywhere now," she murmurs to a colleague, worried about edging her voice. The colleague nods, eyes fixed on the screen. "We can't pretend we didn't see it. Not anymore." Their conversation is hushed, but the sense of urgency is unmistakable. The viral moment has shifted the atmosphere. What was once a private discomfort is now a public reckoning. Sienna feels the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. She's lived through countless quiet indignities, but this is different. The video captures not just Caroline's entitlement, but the collective complicity of everyone who looked away. As the hashtag #JoshArtVsArrogance begins to trend, Sienna's story becomes a rallying point for others who have been dismissed, questioned, or undervalued. The gallery's director receives a flood of messages, some supportive, others demanding accountability. Anonymous testimonials begin to surface, each one echoing the same refrain: "This happened to me, too." The gallery's walls, once silent witnesses to exclusion, now vibrate with the energy of exposure and possibility. Sienna stands a little taller, knowing that her quiet strength has sparked something larger than herself. The world is watching, and the truth can no longer be contained. In the aftermath of the viral video, the gallery director's inbox is overwhelmed by a surge of anonymous letters. Each message brings a new confession. Artists describing how their work was undervalued, patrons admitting to complicity, staff revealing their fear and regret. The weight of these stories presses down on the director, a silent storm gathering behind her composed face. She sits alone in her dimly lit office, the blue glow of the computer screen throwing shadows across the walls. Her hands tremble as she scrolls through the flood of testimonials, each sentence a reminder of the gallery's hidden fractures. One letter stands out among the rest. A resignation note from a black artist, the words raw and unfiltered, describing the unbearable burden of constant questioning, of being dismissed and doubted at every turn. The director's breath catches, the denial she once clung to slipping away. The system's cracks widen, and the quiet complicity that once shielded the gallery begins to crumble. Outside her office, the gallery buzzes with its usual activity. Patrons chatting, staff moving art, unaware of the reckoning gathering within its polished walls. Sienna stands firm amidst this unfolding storm, her gaze steady as the floodgates open. The stories long silenced now demand to be heard, rising like a tide against the walls of exclusion. The gallery's once imposing surfaces seem smaller, the air charged with possibility and tension. The moment is heavy, weighted with the promise of change and the price of truth. The director's hands hover over the keyboard, uncertain whether to respond or retreat. She feels the cost of every decision, every ignored voice, every moment of inaction. The soft rustle of paper and the distant murmur of a crowd awakening fill the space, a quiet symphony of reckoning, signaling that the era of silence has ended. Down a narrow flight of stairs, past the polished galleries and curated spotlights, Sienna follows the janitor into the building's basement. The air is cool, thick with dust and the scent of old cardboard. The janitor, a quiet man with tired eyes, unlocks a heavy door and gestures her inside. "They've been here for years," he says, voice low but certain. Inside, rows of neglected canvases lean against the walls, paintings by black artists, their colors dulled by time and neglect. Each piece is tagged unsellable or unfit for display. The handwriting faded, but the message unmistakable. Sienna moves slowly through the room, her fingers tracing the edges of forgotten frames. She snaps photos, each click of her phone a small act of defiance, a record of what the world tried to bury. The janitor stands by the door, his hands clasped behind his back. "I kept them safe," he murmurs, "as best I could." His words carry a quiet pride but also a deep sadness. He recalls overhearing staff decisions, artwork quietly relocated, names erased from lists, stories dismissed before they could be told. He never had the power to change the system, but he refused to let these works disappear completely. Sienna's heart aches as she documents the archive. Each painting represents not just an individual artist, but a pattern of erasure that stretches back decades. The basement is more than a storage space. It's a silent testimony to injustice, a graveyard for talent deliberately overlooked. As she leaves, Sienna thanks the janitor, her gratitude sincere. "You did more than most," she says. He nods, offering a small, weary smile. Upstairs, the gallery remains pristine and oblivious, but below, the truth waits, undeniable, documented, and finally seen. The gallery buzzes with a subtle shift as the day unfolds. Regular visitors, once content to drift past the art in polite silence, begin to notice small inconsistencies, a price tag that doesn't match last week's memory, the absence of a favorite painting, the names of black artists missing from the latest program. A woman in a tailored coat steps up to a staff member, her voice low but insistent. "I came last week and loved a piece here. Where is it now?" The staff member glanced away, her answer clipped. "It's been moved to storage." The woman's brow furrows, her dissatisfaction quietly contagious. Nearby, a group of patrons exchange uneasy looks, their whispers threading through the crowd like a slow-moving current. "Did you see the price tag on that last painting? It was different yesterday," a man in a suit murmurs to his companion. The other nods, eyes wide. Something's not right. The gallery's polished facade, once a shield against scrutiny, begins to crack, revealing the discomfort and doubt beneath the surface. Sienna stands quietly at the edge of the room, observing the subtle awakening. Her calm presence is a quiet anchor amid the growing unease. The gallery, once a place of unquestioned authority, now feels unsettled, as if the walls themselves are listening to the shift in mood. A young staff member watches from a distance, her grip tightening on a brochure. She exchanges a glance with a colleague, both sensing the change but unsure how to respond. The murmurs grow, a collective questioning that cannot be silenced. The patrons' whispers are small, but together they form a chorus demanding accountability and transparency. The scene closes on Sienna's steady gaze, a silent promise that change is coming, not with a roar, but with the persistent, undeniable weight of truth. The gallery director sits alone, the only light in her office coming from the computer screen. Her eyes are rimmed with exhaustion as she scrolls through messages. Each email, each letter, another story of being dismissed, another plea for someone to finally listen. Her hand hovers over the mouse, pausing on a resignation letter from a Black artist. I can no longer endure the constant questioning of my worth. The silence from those who should protect us is deafening. The words hit harder than she expects, echoing in the quiet room. She leans back, the chair creaking beneath her, and looks at the wall lined with awards and photos from past exhibitions. They seem hollow now, reminders of a reputation built on a foundation she's no longer sure she can defend. The clock ticks on, each second a reminder of how long she's avoided facing the truth. She opens a folder of security footage, watching Caroline's deliberate actions, the way staff averted their eyes, the subtle but relentless patterns she chose not to see. Her own reflection stares back from the darkened screen, blurred and uncertain. A draft email sits open on her desktop, full of empty reassurances and practiced excuses. She deletes it, her fingers trembling. The urge to defend the gallery's name is strong, but the cost of more denial is suddenly too great. She remembers a staff member's quiet plea from earlier that day. We can't keep pretending this isn't happening. The words linger, refusing to be pushed aside. The office feels smaller now, the air thick with the weight of unspoken truths. She closes her eyes, letting the reality settle in. The era of looking away is over. The gallery's polished surface is cracking, and what lies beneath demands to be seen. She takes a deep breath, resolves hardening. Change must begin here, tonight, with her. The gallery studio is quiet, bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon light filtering through tall windows. Sienna stands before a blank canvas, her fingers lightly tracing the edge, steady and deliberate. Around her, photos of the hidden archive and screenshots of the viral post are pinned to the wall, silent witnesses to the storm she has stirred. Her breath is calm, measured, as she selects a brush and dips it into the paint. The weight of what lies ahead presses gently, not with noise, but with a profound sense of purpose. This moment is not about anger or spectacle. It is about quiet resolve and the power of truth. Her mind drifts briefly to the faces of those who stood with her and those who turned away. A faint sound from the hallway reminds her of the world outside, still turning, still watching. She pauses, eyes closing briefly, gathering strength from the memory of every slight, every dismissal, every act of erasure. Her art will no longer ask for approval. It will demand reckoning. The silence around her feels charged, as if the walls themselves are waiting. The walls around her hold stories, framed letters from artists who dared to speak, the janitor's notes on hidden works, the viral video that changed everything. Each image, each word fuels her determination. She breathes deeply, feeling the weight of history and hope intertwined, the burden and the promise. In the distance, the hum of the city blends with the soft murmur of voices. Young artists inspired by her courage, patrons awakening to the truth, a community beginning to shift. The gallery, once a place of exclusion, now feels charged with possibility and quiet energy. The air is thick with anticipation, the calm before the inevitable change. Sienna's hand moves with purpose. Each stroke, a quiet declaration. The blank canvas is no longer empty. It is a space for change, a testament to resilience, and a promise that the storm, though silent, is unstoppable. Her eyes shine with a quiet fire, the brush poised, ready to begin again. Change doesn't roar. It arrives in the quiet after the storm. Soft murmurs ripple through the gallery, punctuated by the click of cameras and the measured steps of guests on polished floors. Sienna stands beneath the gallery lights, her painting illuminated with a quiet, undeniable force. The crowd's attention is magnetic. Collectors and critics draw closer, their faces reflecting a mix of awe and the sting of envy. The air pulses, with a new kind of recognition, one that cannot be denied or overlooked. A patron leans in, whispering to her companion, "This piece, it demands attention." Another nods, voice low. She's claiming her space, finally. Sienna's gaze moves across the room, serene and unwavering. Her posture is tall, dignified, a silent declaration that she belongs, that her presence is no longer negotiable. The polished floors, once indifferent, now reflect her image as clearly as the art itself. Nearby, a young artist stares at Sienna, eyes bright with admiration. She leans toward her friend, voice hushed but reverent. "That's how you stand. Tall." Sienna catches the words, her lips curving into a subtle, knowing smile. She doesn't need to speak. Her art and her composure say everything. The energy in the room shifts, the old hierarchies bending beneath the weight of her quiet strength. The gallery director, standing off to the side, turns to a staff member and speaks softly. "This is the moment we've been waiting for." The camera sweeps across the audience, capturing nods, approving glances, and the flicker of phones as the scene is recorded for the world to see. At the edge of the crowd, Caroline Prescott stands rigid, her expression tight, the first visible cracks in her confidence beginning to show. Sienna's presence fills every corner of the room, a beacon of resilience and grace. The spotlight is no longer just on her art, it is on her, the artist who would not be erased. Caroline Prescott steps forward, her posture rigid, voice edged with forced confidence. "This price is outrageous. Who really believes this is worth that much?" Her words cut through the gallery's hum, drawing eyes and tightening the air. A collector nearby frowns, whispering to a companion, "She's losing it." Caroline's friend nods, voice low but urgent. "We're not the ones overpaying." Sienna watches, calm but alert, her gaze steady as Caroline's bravado begins to crack. The gallery director approaches, voice measured. "Perhaps you'd like to reconsider before making accusations." Caroline's smile falters, her hands clenching briefly at her sides. "I'm just calling it as I see it." The director's eyes hold a quiet authority. Value isn't determined by skepticism alone. A staff member shifts uneasily, glancing between Caroline and Sienna, sensing the shift in power. Caroline's breath hitches, her voice dropping. I just think it's overpriced." Sienna steps forward, voice calm but firm. "It's not about price. It's about respect." The room tightens, the tension palpable. Phones lift, capturing the moment. The crowd, holding its breath. Caroline's facade crumbles, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. She looks around, the eyes no longer on her but on Sienna. The director nods subtly, signaling the crowd's shift. Sienna's quiet strength fills the space, a silent victory unfolding. The gallery hushes as all attention turns to the director. She stands at the center, her expression composed, hands folded neatly in front of her. The tension in the room is thick, every guest waiting for her response. Caroline's challenge lingers in the air, but the director doesn't flinch. She meets Caroline's gaze, voice even and clear. "Before we continue, I'd like to clarify something for everyone present." Her words carry weight, each syllable measured. The crowd leans in, curiosity and apprehension mingling in the charged silence. A staff member glances at the director, his jaw set, a silent show of support. Another staffer, standing by the doorway, nods subtly, her eyes encouraging. The director draws a slow breath, steadying herself. She's aware of the eyes on her, not just those in the room, but the phones recording, the world outside waiting for a sign. Caroline shifts, her confidence wavering, arms crossing defensively. "I just want transparency," she says, but her voice lacks conviction. The director's gaze doesn't leave hers. "Transparency is exactly what you'll have," she replies, her tone unwavering. The crowd senses the balance of power tilting. Sienna stands quietly, her presence a silent anchor. The director continues, "We owe it to our artists, our patrons, and ourselves to honor the truth." The words settle over the gallery, a promise and a warning. A young artist at the back whispers, "She's finally saying something." Another guest murmurs, "It's about time." The atmosphere shifts, the old order giving way to something new. The director's calm is not hesitation, it's resolve. As she prepares to reveal what's been hidden, the room holds its collective breath, suspended in the moment before everything changes. The revelation is coming, and no one will leave untouched. A staff member quietly sets a phone on a stand, activating the live stream as the confrontation unfolds. The gallery's energy shifts. Guests hush, phones lift, and the world outside tunes in. Caroline's face is caught in the camera's lens, her earlier bravado replaced by a visible unease. Her cheeks flush as she glances at the glowing screens, realizing her words and actions are no longer private. The director's voice is steady, carrying across the room and through the live stream. Everyone deserves to know the truth behind this collection. The statement lands with weight, and the crowd leans in, anticipation building. Sienna stands nearby, her posture calm, eyes meeting the camera with a quiet strength that needs no explanation. Caroline tries to recover, her voice thin. I didn't expect this to be such a big deal." Her friend edges away, suddenly self-conscious under the scrutiny of dozens of watching eyes. The director continues, "This collection was recently acquired for $1 million by a major museum. Its value is not up for debate." A ripple runs through the crowd. Gasps, murmurs, a few stunned faces. The camera pans from Sienna's painting to Caroline, capturing the moment her certainty falters. Her hands fidget with her purse, her confidence dissolving as the truth settles in. Sienna steps forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "You changed a price tag, but you never changed the value. That was never yours to touch." The line resonates, echoing through the gallery and out into the digital world. The audience is silent, the weight of the moment pressing down. The gallery's polished surfaces reflect the shift, entitlement giving way to accountability, doubt replaced by undeniable fact. The live stream ends, but the impact lingers, the truth now public and irreversible. The gallery's atmosphere shifts as the director's voice cuts through the charged silence. "This collection was recently acquired for $1 million by a major museum," she announces, her tone steady and clear. The crowd reacts instantly, gasps, ripple, phones flash, and eyes widen in disbelief. Caroline Prescott's face pales, her earlier confidence dissolving into visible shock. Her hands tremble slightly as she clutches her purse, the weight of exposure settling heavily. She stammers, I didn't realize." The director's gaze remains unwavering. Value is not determined by doubt or denial. It is rooted in truth and recognition. Sienna steps forward, her voice calm but resolute. "You altered a price tag, but you never changed the value. That was never yours to decide." The room holds its breath, the tension thick and palpable. The crowd's energy shifts from skepticism to awe, some whispering apologies, others recording the moment. The gallery's polished walls seem to absorb the transformation, reflecting a new era of accountability. A young collector nods to a friend. This changes everything. Caroline's shoulders slump. The collapse of entitlement quiet, but absolute. Her eyes dart around, seeking escape, but the spotlight remains firmly on her. The director's final words echo softly. Truth has a way of revealing itself, no matter how deeply it's buried. The live stream continues, capturing every subtle shift, the fall of arrogance, the rise of dignity. Shame creeps over Caroline Prescott like a slow tide. Her confident facade crumbles as she stands under the gallery's bright lights, the weight of exposure pressing down. Her hands tremble slightly, clutching her purse as she avoids eye contact, eyes darting nervously to the crowd. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Caroline stammers, her voice faltering and thin. A soft murmur ripples through the audience, the tension thick but contained. She swallows hard, her breath shallow, the certainty she once wore now replaced by a cold, creeping doubt. Heat rises in her cheeks as the realization sinks in. The room's gaze feels like a spotlight, exposing every hesitation, every falter. The power she wielded in that quiet act of entitlement is slipping away, unraveling in the public eye. Her friend shifts uneasily beside her, offering a tight smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She leans in, whispering, "Maybe we should leave." Caroline nods, voice barely audible. "Yeah, maybe." The gallery director watches silently, her expression unreadable but firm. The crowd's energy shifts, some nodding in approval, others capturing the moment on their phones. The collapse is not loud or dramatic. It's a series of small cracks, a quiet erosion of privilege. Caroline's internal struggle plays out in micro-expressions, a trembling lip, a darting glance, a sigh barely heard. A young artist nearby whispers to a friend, "That's what happens when entitlement meets truth." Caroline's shoulders slump, the weight of shame settling in. The gallery's polished walls seem to close in, the space once hers now foreign and unwelcoming. The sound of soft murmurs, the click of cameras and footsteps fading fill the air as Caroline's world grows smaller, her certainty lost. A ripple moves through the gallery as the truth settles in. Some guests exchange glances, a few nodding in silent approval, while others raise their phones to capture the unfolding moment. The energy shifts. What began as discomfort now feels like a reckoning. The crowd's mood transformed from passive observation to active engagement. A collector steps forward, voice steady but soft. "I never realized how much we overlook." His words hang in the air, prompting others to murmur in agreement. A young artist, inspired by Sienna's composure, turns to her friend and whispers, "She showed them what real strength looks like." The sentiment spreads, echoed in the quiet conversations that ripple outward. A staff member, usually reserved, approaches Sienna with a genuine nod. "Thank you for not backing down," she says, her tone carrying both relief and respect. Sienna offers a small, appreciative smile, her presence grounding the room. The gallery director standing nearby meets her gaze with a subtle nod of acknowledgement, a silent promise that things will not return to how they were. Caroline, meanwhile, shrinks further into herself, the crowd's attention no longer an affirmation, but a mirror reflecting her actions. Her friend gently guides her toward the exit, the two of them slipping away as the focus shifts to Sienna and the larger conversation now taking shape. The gallery's walls, once silent witnesses to exclusion, now seem to vibrate with possibility. The audience's response is not loud or chaotic, but it is powerful, a collective awakening, a shared recognition that justice has found its voice. The moment is heavy with meaning, the air charged with the promise of change. As the applause begins, soft but sincere, Sienna stands at the center, her quiet dignity a beacon for all who have ever been overlooked. The gallery, for the first time, feels like a place where truth is not just displayed, but finally seen. The gallery's atmosphere softens as the crowd's energy shifts. Sienna stands at the center, her posture composed, her expression calm, but radiant. She acknowledges the applause with a subtle nod, her dignity shining through without a hint of triumphalism. Her victory is quiet, a testament to strength born of resilience rather than spectacle. A young artist nearby leans toward a friend, whispering, "That's how you carry yourself when you've been through the fire." The friend nods, eyes wide, with admiration. Sienna's presence fills the room, a silent rebuke to those who doubted her worth. A gallery staff member approaches, her voice low but sincere. "Thank you for standing firm. You've given us all something to think about." Sienna offers a small, grateful smile, her eyes reflecting both relief and resolve. The staffer's words linger, a quiet acknowledgement of the shift taking place. "Caroline." Prescott remains at the edge, her face a mask of defeat. She avoids eye contact, shrinking further into the background as the crowd's focus moves away from her. Her friend pulls her gently toward the exit, the weight of public judgment pressing down. Sienna's voice breaks the soft murmur of the crowd. "This isn't about me," she says, her tone steady. "It's about every artist who's ever been overlooked, undervalued, or dismissed. Our worth isn't defined by others' perceptions." The room absorbs her words, the silence, heavy with understanding. Phones lower, conversations pause, and the gallery feels transformed, not just by the art on the walls, but by the dignity standing before them. As the applause resumes, softer now, but more genuine, Sienna's quiet triumph becomes a beacon. Her strength is not in loud declarations, but in the unshakable belief in her own value. The gallery, once a place of exclusion, now holds space for justice and respect. The gallery falls into a heavy quiet as Sienna steps forward, her voice calm, but carrying the weight of every moment that led here. "You altered a price tag, but not the value. That was never yours to change," she says, her words clear and steady. The crowd absorbs the statement, the room holding its breath. Phones lower slowly, conversations pause, and the air thickens with the gravity of truth spoken, without anger or spectacle. Sienna's gaze sweeps the room, meeting eyes with those who doubted, those who watched, and those who stood silent. Caroline Prescott's face tightens, the last vestiges of her confidence slipping away. She looks down, unable to meet the eyes, now fixed on her. The power she tried to wield has dissolved, replaced by a quiet reckoning. A young artist nearby whispers to a friend, "That's the kind of strength that changes things." The friend nods, eyes shining with hope. Sienna's words linger, echoing beyond the gallery walls, a reminder that worth is inherent, not assigned. The moment is not loud or dramatic, but it is seismic, a turning point where dignity and truth rise above entitlement and denial. The gallery director steps forward, her expression solemn but resolute. "Let this be a moment of learning and change," she says softly, signaling a new chapter for the institution. The crowd begins to stir, the energy shifting from confrontation to contemplation. Sienna's quiet power has spoken volumes, and the gallery feels transformed, not just by art, but by the courage to face uncomfortable truths. As the scene fades, the camera lingers on Sienna's steady face, a symbol of resilience and hope. The final line hangs in the air, a quiet declaration that value transcends approval. The gallery stands suspended in a rare collective pause. Guests linger, reluctant to break the spell that Sienna's words have cast. The usual chatter is gone, replaced by a quiet charged with meaning. The walls, once silent witnesses to exclusion, now seem to echo with possibility and the weight of change. A staff member slowly gathers empty glasses, her movements careful, as if afraid to disturb the new atmosphere. She exchanges a look with a colleague, both understanding that something fundamental has shifted. The director stands near the entrance, her posture more humble, her gaze following Sienna with newfound respect. Caroline, now a distant figure at the edge of the room, hesitates before leaving. She glances back, her expression a mix of regret and realization. The friends who once surrounded her have drifted away, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions alone. The gallery's polished surfaces reflect her solitary exit, a quiet acknowledgement of the cost of arrogance. Sienna remains at the center, Surrounded by a few supporters and curious onlookers, a young artist approaches, voice soft but sincere. "Thank you for showing us how to stand our ground." Sienna offers a gentle nod, her presence steady and reassuring. The moment is not about victory, but about the promise of something better. As the evening draws to a close, the gallery's energy has changed. The reckoning does not end with applause or headlines. It lingers in the thoughtful faces, the whispered conversations, the resolve to do better. The institution, once a fortress of old ways, now feels open to transformation. Outside, the city lights flicker, unaware of the quiet revolution unfolding within these walls. Inside, history holds its breath, waiting to see if this moment will become a true turning point or just another story lost to time. Caroline Prescott sits alone at a corner table, her phone buzzing relentlessly with notifications. Each alert is a reminder, comments, shares, messages, her actions now public and condemned. She glances up as a group of former friends pass by, their eyes avoiding hers, their smiles forced and fleeting. Carolyn's breath catches as she overhears a whispered conversation nearby. "That's her," one voice says, cold and distant. Another replies, "I can't believe she did that." She lowers her gaze, the weight of isolation settling like a heavy cloak. The cafe, once a place of comfort, now feels like a stage for her downfall. The absence of familiar faces is deafening, the quiet judgment more piercing than any confrontation. A barista approaches with a fresh cup, setting it down without a word. Caroline offers a tight smile, but it doesn't reach her eyes. The barista's glance lingers a moment longer, a silent acknowledgement of the shift in atmosphere. Her fingers tremble as she scrolls through the endless stream of headlines and social media posts. Each one chips away at the certainty she once held, the digital chorus echoing her fall from grace. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet reckoning unfolding within these walls. Caroline's world has shrunk, not by force, but by the collective will of those who refuse to accept her actions. The chair across from her remains empty, a silent testament to friendships lost. She reaches for her coffee, the warmth of faint comfort against the chill of isolation. The barista's eyes flicker with a mix of sympathy and distance, a reminder that even strangers sense the change. Caroline's phone buzzes again, a relentless tide of notifications that she can't ignore. Each message is a thread unraveling the fabric of her social world, a digital reckoning that follows her everywhere. She glances out the window, watching passers-by unaware of the storm inside. Caroline sits hunched over her phone, the glow of the screen casting harsh shadows across her face. Each headline feels like a blow. Gallery patron shamed after racial incident. Entitlement exposed in viral video. The price of prejudice. The articles pile up, one after another, her name now synonymous with scandal. She scrolls through endless comments, her breath growing shallow. Unbelievable. She got what she deserved. This is why things have to change. The words blur together, a relentless tide of judgment that drowns out any attempt at denial. Her finger hovers over the screen, tempted to respond, but every reply she considers feels hollow. The world's judgment is relentless. Each notification, each message chips away at the certainty she once wore like armor. She tries to remember the comfort of her old life. Familiar faces, easy laughter, the confidence of belonging, but it all feels distant now, replaced by a digital chorus she cannot silence. A news anchor's voice echoes from a nearby television, the story looping on repeat. Caroline's image flashes across the screen, her face frozen in a moment of shock. She looks away, heart pounding, wishing she could disappear. The cafe's patrons glance at her, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. Her phone continues to buzz, the headlines multiplying. Every article is a mirror, reflecting her downfall in stark detail. She closes her eyes, trying to block out the noise, but the weight of public shame is inescapable. The reputation she built over years unravels in days, undone by the truth now. Impossible to hide. Caroline presses her palms to her temples, the pressure building. The world outside moves on, but within her, the storm rages. Each headline another reminder that some mistakes cannot be erased. Caroline Prescott walks down a quiet street, her steps slow and hesitant. She notices people crossing to the other side as she approaches, their eyes flickering away, conversations pausing. The familiar faces that once greeted her now avoid her, their smiles replaced by tight lips and averted gazes. A woman with a stroller pauses, clutching her child a little. Tighter as Caroline passes, a man on a bench shifts uncomfortably, his eyes darting to his phone. The neighborhood, once a place of comfort, feels foreign and cold. Caroline's breath catches. She glances around, searching for a friendly face, but finds none. The weight of isolation presses down, heavier than any confrontation. The quiet judgment is palpable, a social exile more profound than any shouted insult. She stops at a corner, watching as a group of neighbors exchange glances and lower their voices. Their distance is a silent sentence, a collective refusal to engage. Caroline's shoulders slump, the realization settling in that her world has shrunk, not by force but by the quiet will of those around her. A child's laughter breaks the tension, a reminder of life moving on. Caroline exhales slowly, the chill in the air matching the coldness she feels inside. The streetlights flicker on, casting long shadows that stretch like the distance growing between her and the community she once knew. The scene fades with Caroline's solitary figure walking away, swallowed by the night, a poignant image of the cost of public shame and the power of collective silence. Caroline sits at her kitchen counter, a letter from the gallery clutched in her hands. The envelope is heavy, embossed with the gallery's seal, a symbol of prestige that once meant belonging. She breaks the seal, her fingers trembling, and unfolds the crisp paper inside. The letter is brief, its message unmistakable. She is barred from all future gallery events. The words are formal, stripped of warmth or apology, a quiet verdict that lands with the weight of finality. She reads it again, hoping for some loophole, some chance for redemption. But the decision is absolute. The gallery, a place she once entered with ease and entitlement, is now closed to her. The ban is more than a punishment. It is a public statement, a clear boundary drawn by an institution that once welcomed her. Caroline's mind races with memories, opening nights, friendly exchanges, the pride she took in being part of the city's cultural elite. All of it feels distant now, replaced by a cold sense of exclusion. Her phone vibrates with notifications, but she ignores them, her focus fixed on the letter. She feels a strange mix of anger and regret, her world narrowing with every passing moment. The ban is not just about art. It is about accountability, about facing the consequences of choices made in public and in private. She glances out the window at her neighborhood, the familiar streets now tinged with the discomfort of being unwelcome. A neighbor walks by, their eyes meeting hers for a brief moment before looking away. The distance is palpable, reinforced by the gallery's decision. Caroline folds the letter carefully, placing it in a drawer with other reminders of what she's lost. The silence in her kitchen is thick, filled with the realization that some doors, once closed, do not reopen. She sits back, the letter's message echoing in her mind. The gallery's walls, once symbols of inclusion and culture, now stand as quiet sentinels of her exclusion. For the first time, she understands the cost of being on the outside looking in. Sienna sits in a sunlit studio, surrounded by canvases that now carry new meaning. Her phone vibrates with interview requests, messages from young artists, and invitations from galleries that once overlooked her. The headlines have shifted. Her name is celebrated, her story shared as a symbol of dignity and resilience. She reads a message from a student, "You showed me it's possible," and smiles, the weight of past dismissal replaced by a sense of purpose. The gallery that once hesitated to feature her now places her work at the center of its main hall. Critics praise her vision, noting the power in her restraint and the emotional depth in each brushstroke. Sienna walks through the exhibit, pausing as visitors gather around her paintings, their faces reflecting awe and respect. She overhears a curator explaining, "This is the artist who changed everything." The words settle over her like a gentle affirmation. During an interview, Sienna is asked about the journey. She answers quietly but firmly, "Art is not just about beauty, it's about truth. For too long, voices like mine were pushed aside. I hope my story helps others claim their space." The interviewer nods, visibly moved, and the conversation spreads online, inspiring others to speak out. Sienna's influence extends beyond the gallery walls. Young artists of color cite her as inspiration, their own work emboldened by her example. She receives letters from across the country, each one a testament to the ripple effect of her quiet strength. The art world, once a place of exclusion, begins to open. Policies change, new artists are featured, and conversations about equity grow louder. Through it all, Sienna remains grounded. She visits schools, mentors emerging talent, and continues to create with the same integrity that carried her through adversity. Her triumph is not loud or boastful. It is measured, steady, and deeply felt. Sienna's story becomes a beacon, showing that true celebration comes not from approval, but from the courage to remain unbroken and unapologetically seen. The gallery's atmosphere is shifting, subtle but undeniable. New faces appear among the staff, diverse, attentive, and engaged. Workshops on equity and bias are scheduled, their flyers quietly displayed in the lobby for all to see. Conversations that were once avoided now take center stage in staff meetings, the language of change replacing old routines and tired excuses. There is a sense of cautious optimism, a willingness to confront what was once swept under the rug. A gallery manager stands before a group of employees, her tone both firm and hopeful. "We're committed to doing better. This is just the beginning." Her words are met with a mix of nods, some tentative, others resolute. The room feels charged with possibility, each person recognizing the responsibility they now share. The past is not forgotten, but it is no longer an excuse for inaction. Sienna walks through the gallery, noticing the differences. Price tags are transparent, explanations available for every piece. New artists of color are featured prominently, their work celebrated rather than sidelined. Visitors comment on the fresh energy, the sense that the gallery is becoming a place of genuine inclusion. The walls, once silent witnesses to exclusion, now display a broader, richer story. A young artist approaches Sienna, gratitude shining. In her eyes, "Your story gave us hope," she says softly. Sienna smiles, her calm presence a steady reminder of the journey from exclusion to recognition. The moment is quiet, but its meaning is profound. A passing of the torch, a promise that the work will continue. The gallery director reviews a new policy document, her expression serious but determined. She looks up, meeting the eyes of a staff member across the table. "We have a responsibility to keep this momentum going," she says. The staff member nods, understanding the weight of accountability. The scene closes on the gallery's entrance, where a diverse crowd gathers for an opening night. The energy is vibrant, the promise of progress palpable. The gallery, once a symbol of exclusion, now stands as a testament to transformation and the power of collective action. The studio buzzes softly with the energy of creation. Young artists gather in small groups, their eyes bright with hope and determination. They speak in hushed tones about Sienna's journey, her courage, and the strength she showed in the face of exclusion. Her story has become a beacon, a blueprint, for those who refuse to be erased. One student, sketchbook in hand, turns to a friend. "She didn't just survive, she thrived. That's the kind of strength we need." The friend nods, eyes shining with admiration. Around them, canvases and charcoal sketches capture the spirit of resilience, each stroke a testament to the power of quiet defiance and dignity. Sienna visits a local art school, her presence a living reminder of what is possible. She offers gentle guidance, her words measured but full of encouragement. "Your voice matters," she tells a group of attentive students. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The room hums with newfound confidence, the air thick with promise and possibility. A young artist pauses, fingers stained with paint, and looks up. "It's not just about art," she says softly. "It's about being seen, being heard." Sienna nods, her eyes reflecting the weight of that truth. The students exchange glances, a shared understanding passing between them, the sense of community growing stronger with every word. As the sun dips low, the artists gather their brushes and canvases. Conversations turn to plans, dreams, and the future they intend to shape. Sienna watches from the doorway, a small smile playing on her lips. The legacy of her quiet triumph is clear, a new generation ready to claim their space, inspired by the dignity and resilience she embodies. The studio's walls seem to pulse with the energy of possibility, each young artist a living testament to change. The quiet revolution continues, carried forward by those who dare to stand tall and speak their truth no matter how softly. Sienna walks through the newly transformed gallery, her steps slow and thoughtful. The walls are filled with vibrant works, by artists of every background, a living testament to progress and inclusion. She pauses before a blank canvas, its surface untouched, full of possibility. The quiet in the room is profound, a gentle hush that feels like respect rather than absence. She stands in front of the canvas for a long moment, reflecting on the journey that brought her here. The battles fought in silence, the moments of doubt, the small victories won with dignity and restraint. The gallery, once a place of exclusion, now feels alive with hope. Young artists linger nearby, watching her with a mixture of reverence and anticipation, their own dreams reflected in her calm presence. Sienna takes a deep breath, her hand steady as she lifts a brush. She remembers her mother's words, the encouragement of those who believed in her and the countless artists who paved the way. The blank canvas is more than an invitation. It is a promise that the story will continue, shaped by new voices and fresh perspectives. She begins with a single, deliberate stroke, the paint gliding smoothly across the surface. Each movement is purposeful, a quiet declaration that change does not always arrive with noise or spectacle. Sometimes it comes in the gentle confidence of those who refuse to be erased, in the spaces they claim and the futures they imagine. As Sienna paints, the gallery fills with a sense of anticipation. The world outside may be noisy and chaotic, but here, in this moment, transformation is quiet, steady, and unstoppable. The blank canvas is no longer empty. It is the beginning of something new. Sienna's final words echo softly. Change doesn't roar. It arrives in the quiet after the storm. The future, once uncertain, now feels wide open, waiting for the next story to be told.